Hi guys, so yeah, quick adage to the beginning of this video. When making this review video for the Zippy loom, I came across a few issues with the Zippy loom creations book, which is this book here. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it is a very handy little book. There is some really good tips in there. I did learn how to do a few new stitches. You know, there's some good info in there. But however, on some of the patterns to make cushions, hats, scarves, whatever, there's vital pieces of information missing. So I was trying to make the classic cozy pillow, I believe it's called, or cozy classic pillow, and I came across a problem straight away. Now if I remove these, now the cozy classic pillow, here we go. If you look here where I've circled in red, each project in the Zippy Creations book has a difficulty rating. The Zippy faces, which are basically the little yellow smiley faces. One smiley face means it's a very easy pattern to follow, perfect for beginners, and the 5 yellow smiley faces means it's more difficult. So yeah, this book helps you progress from easy knits to the harder knits. So it's great for beginners. And as you can see here in this picture, if you look at the top red box, you'll see that the cozy classic pillow has a 1 zippy face or 1 smiley face rating, so it's supposed to be easy, super easy, perfect for beginners, and it is the first pattern you do in this book. So yeah, I thought this would be a perfect one to do during the review of the Zippy loom. But straight away, as you can see in the next red box under instructions there, I came across a problem straight away there. So basically, the CO means cast on. STS means stitches. So basically it says cast on 16 stitches and prepare to work a flat panel, which seems quite simple, but there's one thing it's missing, and that is the cast on procedure, like the cast on method is a better word for it, I think. So it doesn't say which method to use. Now in the book they have a few methods of casting on, which they have the E-wrap cast on and they have the crochet cast on, and in knitting and loom knitting altogether there are different types of cast ons. So just saying cast on is very vague, you know. So I thought, right, well, it's a flat panel. Usually with every flat panel I've done up until this point, I have used an E-wrap cast on. So I thought, well, it must be the E-wrap. So I tried the E-wrap, and yeah, that didn't work, as you'll see in the video. So then I had to try and figure out what cast on would work, because I had to do the K stitch or the knit stitch. As you'll see below the instructions, the red box where it says rows 1 to 30, K4, P8, K4, yeah, the E-wrap cast on doesn't work with the knit stitch. So yeah, but in the end I did find a cast on that did work, and I have talked about that in the video. So yeah, this book did cause a few issues, but I thought I'm not gonna scrap the video because of that, because this is a video about reviewing the Zippy loom. And the Zippy Loom Creations book, although it's bought separately from the loom, it's still part of the Zippy range. So I thought, well, we'll leave that in, we'll keep this video and make it part of the review. So yeah, parts of this video I have sped up due to the fact that weaving the loom, it is time consuming, and where I had to do it a few times because I had to figure out the cast on and I had to take off all the yarn from the loom a few times and rethread it. Yeah, it was very time consuming. So I sped up sections of the video. But yeah, just to reiterate, this is not a tutorial video, so I'm not trying to show you how to do the stitches in this video really. It's more of a review video reviewing the Zippy loom. So yeah, that being said, let's jump into the video. Hey guys, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of a kind of review. Hello Squeak. I'm doing a review on the Zippy loom. Now my partner got me this for my birthday. This is basically the master set. So this comes with all of these different pieces here. You get the long zippies, the straight pieces with the 4 pegs. You get the corner pieces here, 4 of those, and you get the loom hook and the different connectors for the loom. It also comes with like a little instruction book. If I just get that. Now this basically shows you the basic cast on and cast on, bind off, basic stitches, and I think it's got a couple of little patterns in for like hats and scarves that you can follow as well. So it's really handy. Just going to put these out of the way for the moment. I also got this with it as well, which is what I'm going to be using today. The Zippy Creations book. Now again, this has all the basic stitches in, cast-ons, bind-offs, and it's all very easy to read. It's all step-by-step little guide with some really easy to understand diagrams and stuff. Excuse my crude yarn bookmark. I've marked pages of stitches and things that I'm going to be using today. So yeah, and I'm basically going to be making the cozy classic pillow today. Now I don't know if you can see sort of there. There's like, it looks like a yellow dot on my camera followed by grey dots. That yellow dot is actually a yellow smiley face. And it's basically a difficulty guide. So 1 dot means it's very easy, very good for beginners. And 5 yellow dots or 5 yellow smiley faces would mean it is difficult. It also shows you as well in the top corner here what kind of loom variation you will need. It also tells you information here on what kinds of yarn you need, how much yarn, and then it has all the steps here to follow to make your pillow. Now it says here to use a white wool they've used here, but I'm not going to be using a white wool, a white yarn, because white is a stain magnet and I am the world's clumsiest person. So if I did my pillow in white, it would just end up with me spilling things on it. So it would end up stained with, I don't know, tea, soy sauce, tomato ketchup. You know, it would just look awful within a couple of days. So I'm not going to be using the white wool. I have this wool here. Now this is a bulky yarn and it's got a couple of different colours on it. It's blues, greens and purples. I get the label for it. So it's the Seriously yarn, excuse my light, and it is chunky. Now this pattern says that I need 75 meters of yarn. Now this yarn I have here is 48 meters. So I've got 2 of them, so that I'll have plenty. I can just join this one here with that one. Yeah. So, and I might be doing the other side of the pillow with this colour. So I have a pillow with 2 colours on each side. But yeah, so basically this isn't going to be a tutorial. I'm not showing you how to knit this blanket. it is more of a review for the Zippy loom. Because I want to show you how easy it is to use. Now you get all these parts with the Zippy loom, the 4 straight pieces there. We also get 4 of these kind of rounded corner pieces for if you want to build a round loom. And we have all different kinds of connectors. These are the connectors we're going to be using today. So I'm going to show you how to put this together. So if you can see on the loom, there is an arrow. It's very hard to see, but just there is an arrow. On the connector as well, on the end with the 2 notches taken out of it, there's an arrow there as well. Again, it's hard to see, there's no contrast there, which for someone like me with sight issues does make this a little bit tricky. And I've got to say, this is the only downside so far that I have found to this loom, the lack of contrast on the little arrows and markers on the loom. But yeah, anyway, you get your connector, and the arrow on there lines up with the arrow on the loom, just by the little T-shape groove there. So basically, we just line the arrows up and that slots in place and clicks in. It's very easy. Then you join that with the next piece of loom. So again, find the arrows and link them up. There we go. I've already joined these ones earlier, so I've got to join these 2 together. Again, find the arrows and there we go. Find the arrows. Now make sure you do put this together the right way round, because if you don't, these connectors can become a bit jammed, which is another point to having the contrast on the arrows, because for someone with sight issues, it's very difficult to see those arrows. And to be honest, this loom is great for someone with sight difficulties because it's much larger than a conventional loom. I myself have found the conventional smaller looms a little bit fiddly and tricky sometimes. So having the jumbo size loom and the chunky yarns to use does make it a lot easier. Also, it makes it easier for me as well because I do have disabilities that affect my fine motor skills and my hand-eye coordination. And I have issues with grip, and I get cramps and muscle spasms in my hands. I also have some nerve damage in one of my hands, so I can't. Some of my fingertips are numb, and I can't really, they're a little bit numb. So it does make it a little bit difficult doing small fiddly things. So this big loom, the big Zippy loom, has made it a little bit easier for me. And to be honest, I can't big this loom up enough. I do love it, but the contrast issue on the arrow markers and also the smiley faces on the pegs, that needs to be addressed, I think. That is my main peeve. haven't shown you the smiley faces yet, have I? On each piece of the loom, I don't know if you can see there is one peg on the end with a smiley face on it. There's one there, and I believe the next one is that one, and so on. So every fourth peg, and I believe they're there because certain projects you need a visual marker where you're going to be doing different types of stitches. And of course, with my sight issues, I can't see those smiley faces. But I found of a way of dealing with that. So I have here, these are just pink baby hairbands, bright pink. And where this cushion calls for rows 1 to 30, I need to do knit stitch 4 times and then purl for 8 times and then knit 4 again. So the knit 4s on the end, I'm going to mark those with the baby hairbands, just as a visual aid for me. One, partly because of my sight, but mostly a visual aid, like a guide. Where I have autism as well, I can get hyper focused on a task, especially if that task is very repetitive, where knitting is very repetitive, and where I have to change stitches. So I'll be working with the K stitch or the knit stitch on these 4, then the P stitch or purl stitch for these 8, and then back to the knit stitch on the last 4. I'm going to end up hyper focusing on purl stitches and go too far with the purls, and end up purling where I should be knit stitching. So these are helpful because it's sort of like a visual, hey, wait a minute, stop, you need to change your stitch now, kind of thing. Helps slightly break that hyper focus. It's like a little reminder. So yeah, here we go, put them on there. There we go. So we've got 16 pegs there. 8 of them have the pink markers on. 4 at the beginning, 4 at the end. The 8 in the middle are left blank. So knit stitch, purl, stitch, and then knit stitch again. So now we've got that set up, I've got a cast on here. So I'm going to retie this. Right, now usually I do have trouble with tying the slip knots, but I found with the thicker yarns it's much easier. There's less fiddliness. Do excuse me, I'm a bit tired, I was up late last night. Right, so I'm gonna tie this, see if I can get this correct. That way, through that. There we are. Right, so I've left a little bit of tail here so that when we finished I can tie that in and secure it so that it doesn't unravel. So yeah, that goes on there. And to remind you again, this isn't exactly a tutorial, it's more of a review of the Zippy loom. I thought me actually knitting something on it and you seeing how easy it is to knit would be the best review. It in use is the best review, really. So tighten that, slip that up there. Right, so the front of the yarn, the front of the loom is where the grooves are on all the pegs. And the back of the loom is here facing me. Now usually I'd have it the other way round, but when I finish you on it, but the camera needs to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to be working at an awkward angle here, so you might have to bear with me a little bit. So we need a cast on, and I'm going to cast on at the moment with a E-wrap stitch. So around the back of the loom, there we go. Ignore the yawning. I was fine earlier, now all of a sudden my body's just like, no, time to sleep. Right, so I'll show you that again. Bring it round to the front of the loom, round the front of the peg, round the back. No, that was wrong. You need to come round the back of the loom and round to the front and cross over at the back. There we go. Now remember to be careful of your tension, because you don't want to do it too tightly. You don't want to pull your yarn too tightly, because that will make it very difficult to yarn over. But then you don't want to do it too loose either, because then your finished product will be very loose with big gaps in it, and that's not going to be very good for your cushion stuffing, because it will just fall out of the big gaps. So yeah, just E-wrap right to the end. Now I get confused with the end peg a little bit, because where we're working a flat panel, usually you do a U and then come back, and then a U this end and come back. But where we're going to be doing the K-stitches, I don't think the U is going to work. But the only problem is, on this pattern I'm using, they don't tell you what to do once you get to the end. They don't even tell you what cast on method to use. It just says cast on. Yeah, cast on 16 stitches, prepare to work a flat panel. So it doesn't say. So basically I decided the basic E-wrap cast on would probably work well, you know. But where we're doing a knit stitch, the U on the last one isn't going to work so well, I don't think. So I might just do it with an E-wrap and see what happens. There we go with E-wrapped. Right. I'm just going to flip the page on this quickly to find the knit stitch. Oh my God. Here we are, the knit stitch. So, let's read what this says. I have read this through a few times to fully understand it, but still I'm a little bit, get confused a little bit. Place the working yarn in front of the peg, above the loop on the peg. Insert the knit hook under the loop on the peg from the bottom up. Okay. Reach up to catch the working yarn with the hook, pull the working yarn down through the loop on the peg, forming a new loop. Pull the loop that is still on the peg up and off the peg. Place a new loop that is on the hook onto the peg. Gently pull on the working yarn to tighten the stitch. So basically it's a reverse purl stitch. So yeah. So we need to be above. For the knit stitch we need to be above. The purl stitch would be below. So see what happens here. Now I'm not using the hook because with this it's very easy to use your hands, use your fingers, you know. So here we go. So the 4 pegs here with the pink markers on, we need to do this knit stitch. Now that doesn't seem right, does it? See that it doesn't say whether you need to do a U on this end one or not. See, as good as the information is in this book, there are some slight pieces that are missed out. And someone who's inexperienced in knitting, like me, I've only just learned how to knit, they're going to find it a little bit difficult with those little pieces of info missing. Yeah, because it doesn't say whether you need to U or it just says knit 4, purl 8, and then knit 4 again. So cast on 16 stitches, prepare to work flat panel. 16 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yes. So that does need to be a knit stitch. But it's just, bear with me a second, I've got to figure this out. I'm learning as I go. So bear with. So Right. Okay, so that's into, let's see what's happening here. So when I go up and over with the bottom loop here, I end up with all this at the back. So yeah, that's not going to work either. Right, bear with me. Let me have a look at the cast-ons. Because usually it's much easier to cast on when you're doing a round, when you're doing it in the round, because it kind of links in to the other end. But when you're doing a flat panel, it's a whole different story apparently. E-wrap, crochet cast on. Right, let's see what the E-wrap says. E-wrap cast on. Here we go. Make a loop with the yarn. Yeah, that's the anchor loop, the slip knot. Place a knot on the first peg. Yes. Moving from the left to the right on the loom, wrap the working yarn around the second peg, wrap the pegs in a clockwise direction, repeat with the remaining pegs until all pegs are cast on. You are now ready to work on a stitch pattern for the first row or first round. Tip: hold on to the yarn once you have wrapped that last peg. The yarn may unwind if you let go. Yeah, so that's basically what I did. But see, this is where I'm getting confused because it doesn't say what cast on to use. So maybe I should try a different cast on method then, that might work. So let's try that. Let's just try a different cast on method here. This book is, yeah, they need to tell you which cast on method to use for this cushion, this pillow, but they haven't. So this is where you've got to try each cast on method now to find out which one works best with the knit stitch. Right, so pull all this yarn off of the pegs. Right, untangle all this knit. So we'll try a different cast on method. I think we shall try the crochet cast on. Maybe that seems like it'll work probably better. It looks like it will anyway. So let's try that. So we need our slip knot here, which we've still got. Put that onto our first peg. Right, and then I've done this cast on once before. So I kind of know what I'm doing with it, but let's just read what this says in the book. Place slip knot on first peg, insert crochet hook through the slip knot, take the working yarn to the inside of the knitting loom. So the inside is this side facing me. grab working yarn with the crochet hook, pull through the loop on the peg, place on next empty peg, repeat process until pegs are cast on. So they're very simple instructions there, and to be honest, looking at the diagrams, I'm learning more. I don't know whether that's just because of me, because of my learning difficulties. I do find it easier following pictures, to be honest. So yeah, that's just right. So if I may need to turn this round to do this, it'll probably be easier for me. So there we go. So insert the crochet hook or your finger through the if I show you, we have something that looks kind of like that. So hopefully that'll do the trick. That'll do what we need it to do. Right, now we need to start with the K stitches, or the knit stitches. Oh, use that. So back to the page with the knit stitches. Where is that page? There it is. No, that's bind off. We don't need a bind off, not yet. Knit stitch. So knit stitch, we go above and then down through. So above. Let's hope this works. Wait. We need to be this side of the loom, because this is the front. So I'm gonna pull that down through, make a new loop, fingers crossed to pull that loop off, put that one on, pull tight. Oh, that seems to have yielded a better result there. So there we go. The best cast on to use so far, I found out, for the pillow and to use with the knit stitch is the crochet cast on. So there you go. The book doesn't tell you, but I've figured it out, and now I've told you. So there you go. If you're planning on doing this on a Zippy loom, there you go. So we do this knit stitch on all. That was a knit stitch I did want it, and not a pearl. Pretty sure, yeah, that was a knit stitch. I get a little bit confused sometimes. So the pegs with all the pink markers, we do the knit stitch, and then the pearl on the other pegs. I'll find that off. There we go. Fantastic. Now we're cooking gas. So I get my stitch counter, my row counter. So I've got to do 30 rows. And it has one of these where you just click the button. So at the end of each row, I've got to remember to click this until I get to 30. There you go, another thing to think about and remember. So yeah, I have like memory issues as well. And my memory issues are made worse, my memory and cognitive issues are made worse when I'm fatigued or tired, which today, as you could probably tell with all the yawning I've been doing. Why did I have to say yawn? Make myself yawn by saying yawn. Probably making everyone watch this video yawn as well. But yeah, my cognitive and memory issues are made worse when I am fatigued and tired, and today I'm tired and fatigued, so concentration isn't one of my strongest skills today. Remembering things, not one of my strongest skills today. So, but I try not to let that affect me too much. Once I put my mind to doing something, I like to try and get it done, and I've made a mistake here again. I've done a pearl where I should have done a knit. So let's fix that. Easy to fix as well on this because I can tell where the stitches that I need to pull out. There we go. Easy to fix. Now on the smaller looms, I would struggle with that because seeing the thinner strands of yarn, very difficult. So above with the knit stitch and then down through. So there we go. There we are. See, these pink markers are supposed to be helping me, and they are. They're doing really well. Because I stopped to have a look at what I'd done, realised, that's a peg with a pink stitch, with a pink marker. I've done the wrong stitch. See, whereas if I didn't have them markers there, I would have carried on going with the wrong stitch. And then had to unravel it all again and start again. So yeah, having these pink markers, they're a big help. Right. Give me the stitch. There we go. Now we're at this end. Hopefully this will work out. Now we need to be above, down through. There we go. I'm sorry you can't see much of what I'm doing at the moment because this is very tricky to do with the loom back to front. Right, so that's my first stitch, and before I forget, my first row, before I forget, row 1, done. There we go. So this is what we've ended up with so far, and yeah, the knit stitch seems to be working really well with the crochet cast on. So for the cozy pillow, do the cozy classic pillow, do the crochet cast on. So there we go. So this time what I'm going to do is just turn around and see if I can do it this way. So this would be above and then down. Off and pull tight. There we go. And then same again above. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So we need the working yarn above the loop on the peg and pass the working yarn down through the top of that bottom loop, create a new loop, pull that bottom loop up off the peg, put the new loop on and tug on the working yarn to tighten that stitch. There you go. So basically now I'm just going to carry on with this back and forth until I get my first flat panel. Then I need to do the whole process again to get a second flat panel. Then I just sew them flat panels together, leaving one side unsewn, and then stuff it full of this. This is quilted batting, or what was it said? Yeah, quilted batting. So basically you use this to stuff your pillow to make your pillow all pillowy, I guess. So I'll probably need to cut this to the size I need. So yeah, that'll be much later. But yeah, so far the loom I'm finding very easy to use itself. I'm not needing to use a hook. I can just use my hands. Yeah, it's super easy to use. And like I said, the only downside I've found so far with the loom itself is the fact that the contrast on the markers, the arrows on the connectors, and the smiley faces on the pegs. The contrast on that's not very good, so I can't see them. And it would be better if they were in a darker colour, like black maybe. But yeah, that's my only problem with this loom. The book, however, the Zippy Creations book, it does have some handy things in there. I've learned how to do a few new stitches from it I didn't know how to do before, but mainly because I followed the pictures, the diagrams. The steps themselves, the worded steps, can be very vague, and especially on the patterns, saying cast on. Okay, we cast on. What cast on method do we use? It doesn't tell you. So you've got to figure that out for yourself. So that the book I'd give, if I had to give it a 5-star rating, maybe a 3. The Loom, though, a 5, I'd give it 4.5. And I'd say it loses that half because of the contrast on the markers, on the arrows and stuff. That's it. But yeah, so far I am loving this loom. It's very fun to use, very enjoyable, very easy. Especially for someone like me with disabilities, with my sight issues, my difficulties with my hand-eye coordination and fine motor skills, and my issues with my cognitive abilities and stuff. Yeah, I'm finding it very easy to use despite all of that. So I definitely recommend this loom to anyone who has disabilities like mine. I also recommend it for children as well. This would be very good for young children to learn how to knit on. Very good loom for beginners. I love it. It's amazing, and I can't wait to start knitting all different kinds of fun stuff on it. But yeah, I think that concludes my my review. As I said, this wasn't going to be a tutorial. It's just a review of the loom, of the Zippy loom. And I think that concludes it. When I have finished this pillow, I will be posting pictures of it on the Chronically Suki Instagram and maybe on the Chronically Suki Facebook page. So if you want to see pictures of this, give it a few days, maybe a week or 2, and it'll be up. Probably. It's probably going to take me a few days to get this finished. So yeah, I will post them up on there as soon as I get this finished. So yeah, thanks for watching my review of the Zippy loom. And I shall see you all later. Bye bye.